This land looks fixed on a map. It never was. Borders shifted, names changed, empires rose and fell. Canaan, Judea, Philistin, Palestine, Israel, one land, many worlds. And before we begin, one thing clearly, we are not here to take sides in today's conflict. This is a journey through history, to understand the chrysole of cultures and peoples that have lived, fought, and prayed on this ground. Ready to travel 3,000 years, in around 10 minutes? Boom, let's go. So what's our roadmap? We'll walk from the Canaanite city-states to the tribes of Abraham and the Hebrew kingdoms. We'll see Persians, Greeks, and Romans fight for it. We'll cross Byzantines, Caliphates, and Crusaders. We'll join the Ottomans, then the British Mandate. And finally, we'll enter the 20th century, with the birth of Israel, the Nakba, wars, peace talks, and today's puzzle. Before Israel or Palestine, there was Canaan, a patchwork of city-states clinging to the hills. Jericho, Megiddo, Hazor, names etched in clay. Each city had its king, each king bowed to Egypt. Oh yes, the pharaoh's shadow stretched far. Canaan was crossroads, not center. Egypt to the south, Mesopotamia to the east. Merchants carried tin, copper, cedar, and wine. Caravans wound through valleys guarded by soldiers. Every empire wanted a slice of this land. Letters survive, written on clay tablets. Vassal kings begged Egypt for troops, for gold. "My lord, the Habiru are raiding," they cried. Who were the Habiru? Bandits, migrants, ancestors of Hebrews? The debate never ends. History whispers, never shouts. Imagine the walls of Jericho, thick stone rising from the plain. Travelers said they were the oldest in the world. A fortified town where trade caravans paused, where taxes were collected and guards kept watch. Jericho was more than a city. It was a symbol. Whoever held Jericho held the key to Canaan. Then came collapse, the Great Late Bronze Collapse. Empires burned, cities fell, chaos spread. Sea peoples struck the coasts, trade routes snapped. Into the ruins came hill tribes, settlers, survivors. Simple villages appeared on rocky ridges. Stone houses, terraced fields, cisterns for water, goats and barley, figs and olives. Survival. No gold, no palaces, just small communities. Some call them Hebrews, others just the people. Archaeology shows new pottery, new farming styles, altars of stone, no idols, different faith habits. Step by step, a new identity formed, and here enters the tale of Abraham, a man leaving Ur, the great Mesopotamian city. He travels west with family, flocks, hopes. He hears a call, "Leave your gods, follow one God." This migration, whether memory, myth, or both, marked the shift from polytheism to a daring idea. One God above all. That seed would shape Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. From one wandering family, 3 world faiths were born. By 1000 before current era, 2 kingdoms emerged. Israel in the north, Judah in the south. Kings claimed descent from David and Solomon. Temples rose, laws codified, traditions deepened. But empires don't sleep. Assyria surged from the north with iron might. Their kings boasted, "We flayed rebels alive." Israel fell in 722 before current era, gone. 10 tribes scattered, the lost tribes of history. Judah held out, but Babylon came next. Nebuchadnezzar II marched and Jerusalem fell. 586 before current era, the temple burned, walls toppled. Exile began. Priests and scribes carried memory, stories of creation, covenant, and kings, written down. Faith survived because memory survived. Picture the temple flames. Priests clutching scrolls, families wailing, soldiers dragging captives. The Babylonians smashed idols, carried treasures east. By the rivers of Babylon, exiles wept. And they wrote, "If I forget you, O Jerusalem, may my right hand forget its skill." It was poetry born of ashes, and it never died. Then came a twist. Persia, Cyrus the Great toppled Babylon in 539 before current era. Instead of chains, he offered freedom. Exiles returned home, incredible. The temple was rebuilt, sacrifices resumed. A priestly society emerged, tighter than before. Laws codified, rituals sharpened, community renewed. Autonomy was limited, but identity strengthened. Persian roads cut through the land. Caravans of silk, spice, and ideas rolled by. Jews prayed in Jerusalem but lived across empires. Faith became portable. Exile turned into resilience. The world had changed, and they had changed with it. On the Cyrus cylinder carved in Akkadian, the king declares freedom to the captives. "May all gods return to their shrines," he wrote. For Jews, it was proof. God had used Cyrus as tool. Imagine the joy, marching home with songs, laying the foundation of the Second Temple, hope, written in stone. Enter Alexander the Great, fast as lightning. 332 before current era, he stormed across the Levant. Cities renamed, gymnasiums built, Greek coins minted. Hellenism spread like wildfire. But it wasn't smooth, not at all. Greek rulers pushed, Jews resisted. When the Seleucid king outlawed Jewish rights, boom! Revolt! The Maccabees struck back. A ragtag army defeated an empire. Jerusalem cleansed, the temple purified. The Hasmonean dynasty was born. For a century, Jews ruled themselves. But unity didn't last. Rivals fought, Rome loomed. Still, the Maccabees became legend. Every winter, Jews light candles for Hanukkah. Why? To remember oil that lasted 8 days. A miracle, they say, when the temple was rededicated. Was it fact or faith? Doesn't matter. It became the story of endurance, a light shining against empires. 63 before current era, Pompey marched in. Rome set the rules, taxes, legions, governors. Herod the Great ruled as client king. Massive palaces, grand temples, fortresses in the desert. Oh yes, Herod built big. But beneath the marble, anger brewed. Taxes bled farmers. Roman standards insulted beliefs. Prophets spoke of deliverance. Revolts exploded. 66, 73, 115, 117, 132, 135 of current era. Rome crushed them utterly. The Second Temple destroyed in 70 of current era. Jerusalem emptied, survivors scattered. After Bar Kokhba's revolt, Judea erased. The land renamed Syria Palestina, a name meant to break memory. But memory endured. Picture Masada, a fortress above the desert, winds whipping the cliffs. Inside, Jewish rebels hold out against Rome. The legions build ramps of stone inching closer. Day by day, the noose tightens. Finally, silence. The rebels choose death over chains. This story, retold through centuries, became symbol, resistance, tragedy, defiance. Masada fixed Rome's cruelty in memory forever. Rome turned Christian, and the land transformed. Pilgrims arrived, searching for holy places. Churches built, relics displayed, Jerusalem reborn as shrine. The Holy Sepulchre rose above ruins, trade flowed with pilgrims, cities thrived again. But not all was calm. Persians raided, borders strained, wars raged. Jerusalem was conquered, recaptured, rebuilt. Faith became business, empire became faith. The region pulsed as Christian capital, but a new wave was coming from the desert. Think of Helena, mother of Constantine. In her old age, she traveled to Jerusalem. She searched for the cross of Christ himself. Legend says she found it buried in the earth. True or not, pilgrims believed. Helena's quest turned Jerusalem into the beating heart of Christendom. 638 of current era, Arab armies entered Jerusalem. By treaty, churches stood, taxes changed. Life continued, but under new banners. Arabic spread in markets and courts. The Dome of the Rock gleamed on the horizon. Umayyads and Abbasids ruled from Damascus and Baghdad. Caravans carried spices, paper, and pilgrims. Daily rhythms shifted, but roots held. Farmers still tilled fields, merchants still sold wool. Continuity mattered more than rupture. This land stayed a crossroads of empire after empire. Picture Caliph Abd al-Malik in 691 of current era. He orders a golden dome built on the Temple Mount, a monument to Islam's triumph, and to faith itself. The Dome of the Rock still shines today, its mosaics dazzling pilgrims from every corner of the world. 1099. Crusaders stormed Jerusalem in blood. They carved kingdoms, castles, cathedrals. Europe planted itself in the Levant, but resistance rose. Saladin united Egypt and Syria, 1187. Boom! Jerusalem retaken. Muslims, Christians, Jews, all reshuffled in power games. Mamluks came after, ruling with iron grip. They taxed, patrolled, rebuilt caravan routes. The land wasn't calm, but it endured. Another empire, another layer of history. At Hattin, near the Sea of Galilee, Saladin faced the Crusader army. He cut off their water, let the sun scorch them. When the knights charged, they were broken. Jerusalem fell soon after, without massacre. Saladin became legend even to his enemies. 1517, The Ottomans marched in. Sultans ruled from Istanbul for 400 years. Palestine became provinces, mapped and taxed, villages registered, crops recorded, rents collected, peasants farmed, towns traded, pilgrims walked roads. Jerusalem stayed sacred, but life felt ordinary. Empires above, routines below. By the 1800s, reform knocked on the door. New schools, telegraphs, railways arrived. Old rhythms shifted. Global winds blew stronger. This quiet province was about to become a storm center. Picture an Ottoman tax official in the 16th century. He opens a leather-bound register, writes every fig tree, every olive grove, every goat in ink. For centuries, these Tahrir defters recorded the land. Ordinary lives captured line by line before empires collapsed and wars redrew the map. 1917, World War tore the Ottomans apart. British troops entered Jerusalem. Mandate rule began under the Union Jack. Balfour promised a national home for Jews. At the same time, Arabs hoped for independence. Promises collided. Boom, conflict. Immigration rose, tensions boiled, land sales fueled anger, riots erupted. 1936-39 revolt shook the mandate. Partition plans multiplied, none satisfied. By 1947, the UN voted to divide the land, a decision that lit the fuse. It all began with a letter. Foreign Secretary Arthur Balfour wrote in 1917, His Majesty's government view with favor the establishment in Palestine of a national home for the Jewish people. Just one sentence. But it changed everything. For Jews, it was recognition and hope. For Arabs, it was betrayal and fear. A promise on paper set the stage for decades of fire. Britain left. War exploded. Israel declared independence. Neighbors invaded. Armies clashed. Villages burned. Refugees fled. By 1949, armistice lines hardened. The Green Line. Israel survived, expanded. Palestinians displaced by hundreds of thousands. Two stories emerged. Triumph for some, catastrophe for others. Nakba, catastrophe, became memory, scar, and identity. Borders weren't peace. They were new frontiers of tension. Borders weren't peace. They were new frontiers of tension. In the port of Haifa, ships unloaded survivors of Auschwitz and Bergen-Belsen. Families who had lost everything stepped onto a new shore. For them, Israel was not conquest. It was life itself. Children learned Hebrew, parents built homes, songs returned. A people nearly destroyed found refuge. At the same time, another people lost theirs. 1967, Six-Day War. Israel struck fast, taking Gaza, West Bank, Sinai, Golan, maps redrawn in less than a week. UN called for withdrawal. Settlements began instead. Cold War powers armed allies, stalemate deepened. Palestinians organized, PLO raised its flag. 1973, another war. 1979, Egypt signed peace. But for Palestinians, occupation dragged on. Life under checkpoints, permits, patrols, diplomacy stalled, anger grew. At Entebbe Airport in 1976, Palestinian militants hijacked an airliner. Israel launched a daring raid. Soldiers flew in overnight. They freed hostages in a blaze of gunfire. The world watched stunned. This land's conflict was now a global stage. 1993. White House lawn, Rabin and Arafat shook hands. Oslo promised peace, autonomy, recognition, hope soared. Oh yes, the world cheered. But reality bit. Settlements expanded, borders delayed, violence flared. The first intifada had already scarred the land. The second intifada shattered trust even more. Buses bombed, tanks rolled, walls rose, dreams collapsed into daily suspicion. By the 2000s, peace felt like illusion. Yitzhak Rabin once sang Shir LaShalom, Song for Peace. 2 years after Oslo, he was assassinated in Tel Aviv, a bullet fired by a fellow Israeli. Crowds wept, candles burned, peace seemed to die with him. A single shot echoed louder than decades of speeches. 21st century. Gaza wars, West Bank tensions, rocket fire, airstrikes, blockades. Talks fail, trust thinner than paper. Regional deals bring new ties with Israel. Palestinians remain divided between Gaza and West Bank. 2 states, 1 state, confederation. Ideas fly, solutions stall, and yet, markets open, children study, life insists. Amid conflict, the land still breathes. History never ended here, it just keeps repeating. A farmer in the West Bank plants an olive tree. It may take 15 years to bear fruit. Why plant now? Because hope is stubborn. Even in conflict, people dream of tomorrow. The olive tree waits for peace, for rain, for time. One land, many names, countless lives in between. Empires tried to erase it, peoples fought to claim it. Memory, faith, survival, still shaping today. And if you like this journey, please like and comment. Subscribe for more stories from the naked history. History isn't finished, stay curious.